managing that person.
I call the honourable member Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. I think it's very important when we look at part one to recognise two things about what the model of charter schools are about. The first of those is that this is a political stitch-up at the expense of our children in New Zealand. That is what this is. The ACT Party has come under a bit of criticism. John Banks from Materia Ture. I'm going to say one thing in favour of John Banks. What? At least the ACT Party is honest about its agenda to privatise education. They have been honest on political platforms over the last elections. They want to privatise education. And that, Mr Chair, is what this bill is the first step towards, the privatisation of education. So John Banks can own that policy. The dishonest approach comes from the National Party. The National Party, who were doing work on charter schools before the last election but didn't put it in their policy, who come along to this House today with a political deal over a cup of tea at the expense of New Zealand children. And the National Party members are right to hang their heads in shame for coming to this House and supporting this ideological experiment. And Mr Chair, that is the second point that I want to make. This is a flawed ideological experiment being played out at the expense of children in New Zealand. That is what is happening, because this model internationally does not deliver. This model internationally delivers in so few cases that it is discredited all over the world. And Mr Chair, sometimes I've said this to other audiences, if you watch The Simpsons and you see on The Simpsons that the school bus is yellow, well, if you go all over America, the school buses are yellow. Because America has one of the most regulated education systems that you have ever seen. In New Zealand, we have an education system that is flexible, that is innovative, that is collaborative. We should be building on that model. We should be making sure that every school in this country is a good school, that every child in every school in this country gets a good education. We should be doing that by supporting the programs that work, by developing the capability of the teaching profession. What we don't do, Dr. Calder, is by imposing a flawed, ideologically motivated model on New Zealand, and that is what this bill does. So let no one out there imagine that there's some great altruistic motive behind this bill. There is not. What lies behind this bill is ideology and National and ACT playing to the vested interests of this country, playing to the fact that people can make a profit out of education and use public money to make that profit. And as Tracy Martin said earlier, that's what New Zealanders need to know about this charter school proposal. Public money, without the transparency that should go with public money, will go to line the pockets of people who want to make a profit out of education. Mr Chair, that is the opposite of what we should be doing in our education system. We should be investing that money in strengthening our public education system. And Mr Speaker, today this bill walks all over the legacy of people like Peter Fraser and Clarence Beebe. And actually I also want to mention another person today, and that's Brian Donnelly, the former New Zealand First MP, who I worked with on issues around public education, who Trevor Mallard worked with when he was the Minister of Education. People like that who have supported strong public education system that delivers, national ministers like Les Gander, who have devoted their lives to supporting a strong public education system. And today the National Party comes to this House with a bill to demolish the public education system in New Zealand. And they say, they deny that. That is the agenda of the party, the ACT Party, who have brought this bill to the House and done the political deal with the National Party. That is what is at stake here. The legacy of a public education system that said no matter where you're from, no matter what the background of your parents, no matter what your academic ability, the public education system will be there for New Zealanders. That was what Peter Fraser and Clarence Beebe brought to New Zealand. That was the legacy they left New Zealand, and the Labour Party stands proudly beside that legacy, and in the past, National Party governments have backed that public education system as well. But not this government. This government wants to sell out that education system to vested interests. Mr Chair, Mr Chair, Mr Chair, Mr Chair, Mr Chair.
I call the honourable member, the Honourable Nikki Wagner. Sorry,
Mr Chair,
Nikki Kay.
Mr Chair, look, I am very pleased to speak in this committee stage.